Hello and welcome, stargazers. This is the Outlaw Astrology Podcast. This is episode 45, and we're talking about the wands, the suit of fire. It is will, it is creative action, it is vitality. So we're doing a deep dive into the fire suit on this particular episode. And so what we're talking about here is exploring the elemental nature of the fire suit, the native arc from ace to 10, and how each card embodies different expressions of creative will and passionate action. And a little housekeeping before we get to that part. This is part 4 in the Minor Arcana series, with Pentacles, Swords and Cups to follow. Also, there is a free and paid newsletter. These episodes are also available newsletter-wise if you are interested in reading them rather than listening, and that is free until I decide it's not free anymore. Also, you can find the Outlaw Astrology on YouTube, Pinterest and Instagram. That and the newsletter links are available in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and now onward. Okay, so fire is an element. This is the essence of the wand. So fire is, these are the core qualities. It's initiation, it's passion, inspiration, creative drive, willpower, and spiritual aspiration. And so fire represents the spark of life, the impulse to act, the assertiveness, the creative force that transforms a vision into a concrete sixth sensory experience. And so we can connect fire to the astrological signs. We've got Aries, cardinal fire, ignition; Leo, fixed fire, sustained radiance; Sagittarius, mutable fire, expansive exploration. So we can frame the suit of wands as the becoming in the process. It's the process of manifesting desire through action, and it's encouraging challenges and encountering those challenges with passion, with drive, and it's inherent in creation. You can't get away from the ability to run into reality when you're dealing with fire, which must be, of course, also handled with care. So this is the narrative arc of the wands. This is ace through 10. So we're going to start with the ace of wands, and that's the pure creative potential, the divine spark, raw inspiration, and the impulse to begin. That is how that rolls. And so if I'm going to go a little deeper, the ace of wands does not correspond specifically to one sign of the zodiac, of the fire signs of the zodiac. It is all three. So it is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius energy, because this is a card 1. It is associated also with the mage card of the major arcana. And this is fire, how the mage has a vision, will, inside their head, and decides, how am I going to make this happen? What action do I want to take? How much drive and energy do I want to put into this? Now we've got 2 of wands. We've got the next 3 cards, 2, 3, and 4, are Aries-based energy. And so the 2 of wands corresponds to Mars and Aries. That is the first decan. First decan means 10. So the first 10 degrees of all 30 degrees of a sign are going to, that's the first decan. The second would be second decan and thirds, and this is how it is. So we're talking about 0 to 9 degrees of Aries would be the first decan, and so 2, 3, and 4 of wands correspond to that. 2 of wands being the first decan, as I've said. And so the keywords there, themes, would be dominion, holding vision, standing at the threshold of possibility and bold action. 3 of wands is the sun in Aries. And I should also note that we're using the sacred 7 planets from the sun to Saturn in a particular way. Now it's called the Chaldean way, and that is just basically where Iraq is now, and that is how they chose. So a Middle Eastern Arabic way of viewing the stars, and so it is based on speed. So the slowest planet would be first, followed by the second slowest, third, etc. So there'd be Saturn. This is the order: Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. And it starts from the Aries and goes through all of the zodiac, which is how we get to Sun, Venus, Saturn. It doesn't make sense, but if you follow it around the zodiacal wheel, you will get the essence of the thing. And so here's how it works out. Very quickly, I'm going to do an overview so this makes sense. So if we're starting with Aries, and so we're going to start with Mars and then follow each sign from the quickest all the way to the quickest planet. So Mars moves more slowly than the Sun. So it's Mars, Sun, Venus. And then we're picking up to the next quickest planet, Mercury, Moon. Saturn would be the slowest again. And what would follow after that? Jupiter. So we're looking at those three: Mars, Sun, and Venus. Those are the first three cards of the minor arcana in wands. Okay? That's how that works. Taurus has its first decan is Mercury, its second is Moon, its third is Saturn. Still following that order, Gemini's energies work like this: Jupiter, Mars, Sun. Cancer follows up with Venus, Mercury, Moon, starting the cycle over again, with Leo starting with Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Virgo, and this is all the decans. So all with 3 planets, that would be 10 degrees each. If I have not said, it's 0 to 9, 10 to 19, that's the second decan, and 20 to 29 would be the third decan. And so at Virgo, it starts with Sun, Venus, Mercury. Libra is Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. Scorpio is Mars, Sun, Venus, and Sagittarius is Mercury, Moon, Saturn. Capricorn starts with Jupiter, Mars, Sun. Aquarius is Venus, Mercury, Moon. Pisces is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, and then it starts again with Mars for Aries. So that's just to give you an idea. So when we see Mars, Sun, Venus, it's only because we're looking at the zodiac in order. Starting off, that's how we're arriving at that. So if it doesn't make sense, it's because it goes in zodiacal order as opposed to just all of the wands cards all at once. So that's just long explanation to just say that. Okay, so 3 of Wands is the Sun in Aries, and that's the second decan, and it's established strength, vision taking root, looking at the horizon with confidence. 4 of Wands, still in Aries, it's Venus in Aries, third decan, completion of foundation, celebration, harmony within a creative structure. Next up, 5 of Wands, Saturn in Leo, first decan, and the keywords are strife, competition, struggle to maintain individual expression among conflicts. 6 of Wands, Jupiter in Leo, second decan, victory, recognition, triumph after the struggle, public acknowledgement of achievement. 7 of Wands, Mars in Leo, third decan, valor, defending one's position, standing firm against challenges with courage. 8 of Wands, Mercury in Sagittarius, first decan, swiftness, rapid movement, messages and momentum, accelerating toward manifestation. 9 of Wands is the Moon in Sagittarius, second decan, strength and reserve, resilience, the wariness of defending what's built yet standing true and standing guard. 10 of Wands is Saturn in Sagittarius, third decan, oppression, carrying the burden of success, the weight of responsibility when vision becomes obligation and duty. And so the overarching frame here goes from pure inspiration, the Ace of Wands, through manifestation, which would be 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5 we get to conflict, 6 we get victory, 7 we get defense, 8 is more movement, and then finally the exhaustion of 9 and 10, because this is constant work, constant effort, and so it eventually leads to burnout because we've gone for too long without rest. So we're looking at all of these lovely, lovely cards like this. How I would characterize it, say you're in Aries territory, okay? It is the equinox in the northern hemisphere, and you're going to be looking at, you could look at the Ace of Wands card because that's pure potential, or you could start working with the 2 of Wands, 3 of Wands, 4 of Wands, depending on the degree. So let's say that the equinox is happening, and let's just say that we're at 0 degrees, but you jump into the game at 11. That means the second decan, and so the 3 of Wands, Sun in Aries, would be the card to work with. And that is the card of established strength, vision taken root, looking forward to the horizon with confidence. Or maybe the moon is in Sagittarius. And that's the 9 of Wands card, and that's the second decan. And you could pull out that card of the deck when the moon happens to be in Sagittarius. And you can start asking questions. What strength do you have in reserve? Where are you experiencing resilience? Where is the wariness? Is there any wariness happening? Where is that? What's being built and you have to stand guard and protect it? How much is this affecting your energy? Is it affecting your energy? And then you can start taking action, which I would suggest 1 to 2 small movements per day, so like something 5 to 10 minutes, so it doesn't overtax your energy, because you can be consistent if you do it in a smaller way. Smaller actions taken over a period of time on the daily are going to be far more effective than big flourishes, big actions taken sporadically. And so when you have the moon in Sagittarius and you're looking at the 9 of Wands cards, it's saying, okay, this is all this fire, and you've got all that mental energy and all that think going on. How are you going to sustain all of this? It's not possible to have fire burning, heat burning constantly. Too much heat in the body, and it becomes illness or disease. Too much heat in the atmosphere dries out that atmosphere and gives us very parched, desert-like temperatures and desert-like experiences. That's too much heat is just as bad as too much water, too much moisture, too much cold. So we're dealing with also moderation. Now some people, and in the Golden Dawn lineage, that card, Major Arcana, would be Temperance. And if you like, you could also pull out the Temperance card and say, how do I temper this fire? How do I temper it so that it doesn't lead to burnout? It doesn't lead to working to exhaustion? How do I, because the moon is about nurturing yourself. The moon is about your safety needs. It's also in medical astrology about all of that, your gut health, reproductive health, things of that nature. It's along that line. So we're looking at moon, the 9 of Wands, moon in Sagittarius. If the moon's in Sagittarius, you have all the freedom to pull out this card and put it on your altar if you've got one, or your bedside table, or anywhere you can look at it, so that you remember that the focus is on creating our visions on earth sustainably, tempering excess fire with maybe a little water, maybe a little rest, a little bit of grounded embodiment, which would be represented by earth, tuning into our emotions, which is represented by cups. Okay, so those are some of the things that one can do. So once again, we're going from pure inspiration, that is the ace, all the way through manifestation. Manifestation would be 2, 3, and 4. And 5 would lead us to the conflict, 6 to victory, 7 would be defending yourself. Once you get success, or when you go out there in the world, people are automatically going to oppose, especially if what you're trying to do goes against what they think is right, etc. And leading ultimately to more action in the 8 card, 8 of Wands, and 9 and 10 lead us more to burnout and exhaustion. So basically the Wands message is cautionary. It's saying, yes, it's wonderful to be uplifted. It's wonderful to be empowered. It's wonderful to be inspired. And there is a cost. It's wonderful also to be enthusiastic and to be restless and just want adventure and to quest. And it's also wise to pause and rest, to tune in with one's emotions, to tune in with one's body, to tune in with one's mind, one's soul, one's spirit. And that is the message of the 9 of Wands, and that is the message of the moon in Sagittarius in this particular example, okay? And so when we're looking at practically reading with the Wands, we're thinking about questions of action and passion. And so when the Wands speak to questions, it can be speaking to career, creative projects, passion, life direction, spiritual purpose, and personal power. And so here's an example. If someone were to ask, should I start this business, and draws the 2 of Wands, it could be interpreted as the vision and the power is there, but the direction needs to be chosen courageously, boldly. You're going to have to put some drive, a little behind that action, okay? And so with this, with Wands in the suit, reflection is necessary. Each wand card resonates most with our current creative journey. So I said that poorly, but anyway, which wand card resonates most with our current creative journey? And where are we in that narrative? Igniting, building, struggling, celebrating, defending, or feeling the weight? Because the 10 of Wands is feeling the weight of you created something. I mean, how many times have we all not started a career or a project and it starts to be obligatory and dutiful and heavy and we start feeling burdened by it? So that, like I said, the suit of Wands is celebratory. It's wonderful. It is glowy, bright, warm energy. It's like sitting near a bonfire on a moderately cool summer night when you've got the stars overhead and you can, wear a light jumper or, windbreaker or something like that. It's moving. You can feel fall in the air, but it's not quite there. And you're sitting near a wonderful fire. The suit of Wands ideally should feel like that. It should feel warm. It should feel inviting. It should feel welcoming. However, the suit of Wands reminds us that energy is finite and must be used with great care. That it's not meant to be used excessively. It's not meant to be pushed past, even though we live in a culture that tells us that pushing past your pain and injuries is wise. It's going to get you there. It's productive. The suit of Wands is saying, no, it's not necessarily. It could go there, and that's the warning. It could go there, and you have choices. And let's do another example before I close out. So let's say it is, it's a lovely summer. We're having a lovely summer in 2026. And the sun is in lovely Leo as it is, and we're in the Northern Hemisphere as we are. And so that means second decan. Let's say second decan Leo energy. The sun is at 13 degrees of Leo, and that puts it in 5 of Wands territory. Now, the 5 of Wands keywords are strife, competition, the struggle to maintain individual expression amidst conflict. Now, a note here, if you haven't, let me point it out. Using the zodiac and planets is so dead useful, for one thing, because it can help you interpret the card better. If you just want to, use it, you're doing a tarot reading and you want to add a little astro to that, it makes it easier to interpret the card. So when we're looking at Five of Wands, we've got Saturn and Leo. Saturn is all about boundaries. It's all about limits. It's all about struggle. It's about the hard lessons. So Five of Wands, and all of the fives, by the way, numerically, in the tarot deck, whether it be major or minor arcana, is always about change. It's always about experimentation. It's always a very mutative and mutable energy. It's about exploring, but it's also about change, chaos, strife. Because the natural order of things is being upset. That's what the number fives do in all of the suits. So Five of Wands, Saturn is about hard lessons. It's about challenges. It's about delays. It's about boundaries. It's about limits. And so Five of Wands, you have a wonderful vision, and there are other people. Things aren't going to go perfectly. You're going to meet up with other people who are going to say, this is rubbish, I don't agree, I don't like your theories, etc., or I don't like the colors, or whatever the medium may be. And so you're going to run into strife. Also, competition. There are going to be people who come up with a similar idea to what we're doing here, hypothetically, and that's going to be a part of it. That's brushing up against the status quo, as it were, and the struggle to remain an individual. Well, the individual expression is Leo energy, and learning how to express yourself authentically, which is also another Leo keyword. In addition, individual expression. If you hear self-expression, individual expression, we're looking at Leo energy. And I misspoke, it is the first decan. So let me alter that. Instead of 13 degrees, we're going to make it 8. So at 8 degrees of Leo, we have the first decan. That's the Five of Wands. That's Saturn energy. Okay? But let's do 13 degrees of Leo, 6 of Wands. And that would be Jupiter and Leo. Okay, so we got victory, recognition. So the victory part, that's Jupiter. Recognition, that's Leo. Triumph after struggle, that is a common phrasing you're going to see for Six of Wands, because Six of Wands usually shows someone, if it's the old Rider-Waite-Smith deck, someone under wreaths. They got a wreath about their head. They're under a canopy of leaves, and it looks very celebratory. And there are people surrounding the querent, represented by a single figure on the card, trotting in on their horse with all of the celebrations around them. So you won. Let's put ourselves in the figure's seat for a moment. We've won. We got what we wanted. Hurrah, hurrah. That's the Six of Wands. It's highly celebratory. It's highly nurturing energy. Sixes are nurturing. In Wands, we took action, and rah, 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 yay us. Jupiter's the victory, as I said. Recognition is very Leo. Triumph after a struggle. You put in the energy, and this is the card that follows Five of Wands. We had competition and strife, and we survived it, and we've triumphed after the struggle. We're still here. Maybe that's the triumph, okay? Or we have hit one of our first milestones, for example. So it's public acknowledgement of achievement, which is also very Leo energy, okay? So that 5 card, you see how it pulls immediately into the 6? Let's do one more, and then we look at the 7 of Wands. And let's move that to about 21 degrees of Leo, the sun, and it is August. So high summer in the northern hemisphere. And we got the 7 of Wands, which corresponds to Mars in Leo, 3rd decan. Okay? And so what we've got here is keywords: valor, defending one's position, standing firm against challenges with courage. Okay, that sounds fun. Valor would be courage. That's Mars. Defending, also Mars. Standing firm against challenges with courage, Mars. This is all Mars energy. But Leo is very personal, very self-expressive. So you'll notice one's position, that's very Leo. Okay? And the sevens are usually going to be about change. It's a mystical number, but it's about change. We won in the 6, and now we have to fight to keep our space under the fire of the sun. And that is what the 7 of Wands is speaking of. And so when we're looking at Wands territory, and we're looking at 5, 6, and 7, we're looking at Leo territory. So let's say we're having a challenge, a creative challenge at work, 5 of Wands. And let's say we draw. It speaks to us directly. Okay, yeah, I'm experiencing strife. What do I do? And the next card we draw is the 6 of Wands. Okay, there will be success after this if you're willing to push through, but you have to decide how much energy you want to exert, because remember, the Wands suit is a cautionary tale. That, yes, inspiration is beautiful, but if we overdo it, we could end up overburdening ourselves and taking something that started out enthusiastically and turning it into a to-do list with all the obligations, all the responsibilities, all the duty, and none of the enjoyment, none of the delight. Okay, so those are just some of the ways that we can look at a card. So let's say should I start a business? And let's start again, 6 of Wands, it's a challenge that it's likely it could be a successful business, that it's a good direction to go in. I would see the 6 of Wands is, should I start this business, would be yes. This direction at this time is looking favorable, is how I would interpret that. And Wands timing is usually late spring, early summer. So Aries through Sagittarius season, I wouldn't say that. I would say Gemini through Leo, early Virgo season would be all that. And so when we're looking at all of this, spring and summer, Gemini, Cancer, and Leo would be the signs, with a little bit of Virgo would be the signs I'd be looking at. And so in high Leo territory, I'd be looking at the 5, the 6, the 7 of Wands, because that is banked fire. It's meant to be sustainable. Leo energy is not, it's sustaining energy. It is not about, it's not about sparks. It's not about wildfires or anything like that. If Aries energy has the potential to be a wildfire, Leo takes that fire and puts it into a hearth, and now we cook over it. Stay warm with it. And then that fire moves into Sagittarian outdoor spaces, and it's a bonfire, with the potential of getting away from us in a high summer mode, because if it's dry, it's hot. It could also potentially lead to wildfires, to give you a physical idea to represent this. And so the key takeaway here would be that start the journey of creative fire from the spark to the burden. It is a cautionary tale. It shows us the inspiration must be tended wisely, or it can potentially consume us. So the call to action here, the mission here, should you choose to take it, is to draw one card daily this week and track how fire energy moves through your life. Where are you igniting? Where are you building? Where are you burning out? How are you turning up? How are you showing up? Are you showing up uplifted, empowered, inspired, courageous, brave, driven, passionate? To what degree would be another question. And so the next episode, we're going to be looking at the Pentacles. That is the suit of Earth, and we'll be exploring the material manifestation, the security, and the body's wisdom. So thank you very much for listening and hanging in there with me. Appreciate you, and Happy New Year to you and yours. And one last thing, we do have a newsletter, free and paid. This podcast episode is free if you prefer to read it. If you choose to sign up for a free membership that's also paid, we appreciate your support to the podcast. If you want to find us and give us 5 stars, which would be helpful, you may do so on any of the podcasting platforms where you happen to listen to podcasts, but in particular YouTube, Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts would be the chief. Also Spotify. And thank you very much. Peace and astro magic, star people.